The massive Zephyrian warship Cosmic Dominion drifted through space like a metal mountain. Its dark hull stretched for miles, covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays that had terrorized dozens of worlds. On the bridge, Admiral Kethvar stood with his forearms crossed behind his back, watching the view screen with cold yellow eyes. "Another primitive species to add to the Empire," he said to his second-in-command. "This will be quick." The human ship appeared on their sensors like a tiny dot. The USS Liberty was barely 300 meters long, a fraction of the size of the Zephyrian dreadnought. To Admiral Kethvar, it looked like a metal box with engines attached. He had seen thousands of ships surrender at first sight of Imperial power. This would be no different. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the command chair of the Liberty, watching the alien ship grow larger on the main screen. His brown hair was getting gray at the edges, and his hands showed the scars of years working in asteroid mines before joining the military. He had never expected to face aliens when he became a ship captain. "That thing is huge," said Lisa Carter from the tactical station. She was a young woman with short black hair and quick eyes that never missed a detail. "Their ship is 10 times our size." "Size isn't everything," replied Ben Rodriguez from the engineering station. He was a stocky man with thick arms who understood machines better than people. "I've seen big things fall before." Amy Foster looked up from the communications panel. She had blonde hair tied back and spoke 7 languages, though none of them were alien. "Captain, they're sending us a message." "Put it on screen," Morrison ordered. Admiral Kethvar's reptilian face appeared on the Liberty's main viewer. His yellow eyes glowed with arrogance as he spoke in perfect English, learned from intercepted human broadcasts. "Primitive humans, I am Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Empire. Your species is now property of the Empire. Surrender your ship immediately and prepare to be transported to processing centers. Resistance will result in immediate destruction." The bridge fell silent. Morrison stood up slowly, his jaw tight. "Processing centers? We study new species before deciding their usefulness," Kethvar continued. "Some become workers. Others become food. Your compliance will determine which category you fall into." Lisa Carter's hands moved to her weapon controls. Ben Rodriguez checked the ship's power systems. Amy Foster's face went pale, but her voice stayed steady as she waited for orders. Morrison stepped forward. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Defense Force. We don't surrender to anyone. If you want to fight, you'll get one." Admiral Kethvar's mouth opened in what might have been laughter. "Your bravery is amusing but pointless. Observe the power of the Empire." The Cosmic Dominion fired a warning shot from one of its smaller weapons. The energy beam streaked past the Liberty's hull, bright enough to light up the surrounding space. It was meant to show power without destroying the human ship immediately. "Impressive," Morrison said calmly. "Now let me show you something." He turned to Lisa Carter. "Target their escort ships. Full power." "Sir, are you sure?" Carter asked. "Fire." The Liberty's weapons didn't look like much from the outside. They were simple metal tubes that stuck out from the ship's hull. But when they fired, the space around them lit up like a small sun. 3 beams of pure energy shot out faster than the eye could follow. The Zephyrian escort ships exploded instantly. Not damaged, not disabled, completely vaporized. Where 3 warships had been floating a second before, now there was only expanding clouds of glowing gas and metal fragments. On the bridge of the Cosmic Dominion, every Zephyrian officer froze in shock. Their sensors showed impossible readings. The human weapons had released more energy in 3 seconds than their own ship could generate in an hour. "How?" whispered Kethvar's second-in-command. Admiral Kethvar stared at the screen where his escort ships had been. In 200 years of service, he had never seen anything destroyed so completely and so quickly. His yellow eyes began to show something they hadn't felt in decades: fear. "Impossible," he muttered. "They're primitives. They only achieved spaceflight 50 years ago." On the Liberty's bridge, Morrison sat back down. "Tactical report. 3 targets destroyed," Carter reported. "No damage to us. Their main ship is backing away." "Good. Amy, open a channel to the big ship." Amy's fingers danced over her controls. "Channel open, sir." Morrison looked directly at Admiral Kethvar through the screen. "Admiral, let me explain something to you. We humans have a saying, don't start a fight you can't finish. You came here threatening to turn my people into slaves or food. That was a mistake." Kethvar tried to speak, but no words came out. You want to know how we destroyed your ship so easily? Morrison continued. It's simple. While you've been conquering weak civilizations, we've been preparing for war. Every human weapon is designed for one purpose: to completely destroy whatever we point it at. Ben Rodriguez smiled from his station. The weapons were his design, built on principles the Zephyrians had never considered. Instead of elegant energy efficiency, humans had focused on raw destructive power. Their weapons didn't just penetrate shields, they overwhelmed them with sheer force. Your escort ships had shields rated to stop anything in your fleet, Morrison said. Our weapons put out 10 times more power than your strongest guns. We don't fight fair, Admiral. We fight to win. Admiral Kethavar finally found his voice. This cannot be. Our empire has ruled for 1,000 years. We have the most advanced technology in the galaxy. You had the most advanced technology, Morrison corrected. Now you know there's something better out there. The question is, what are you going to do about it? The Zephyrian admiral looked around his bridge at officers who were staring at their instruments in disbelief. Their sensors confirmed what their eyes had seen. The human ship, tiny compared to their own, had just demonstrated the ability to destroy them completely. We withdraw, Kethavar said finally. Smart choice, Morrison replied. But Admiral, here's some free advice. Tell your empire that humans don't make good slaves. We make very dangerous enemies. The communication ended. The cosmic dominion turned slowly and jumped into hyperspace, leaving the human ship alone in the void. Lisa Carter turned to Morrison. Think they'll be back? Morrison looked at the stars where the Zephyrian ship had vanished. Oh, they'll be back. But next time they'll bring everything they have. Will we be ready? Amy asked. Ben Rodriguez checked his weapon systems again. Everything was working perfectly. We'll be ready, Morrison nodded. The first shot in humanity's war for survival had been fired, and they had won. Admiral Kethavar stood in the communication chamber of the Cosmic Dominion, waiting for the holographic image of the High Command to appear. His hands shook slightly as he prepared to report the impossible defeat to his superiors. The 3 destroyed escort ships had been veteran warships, each capable of conquering a planet by itself. The blue light formed into the shape of Supreme General Vexthul, the highest military commander of the Zephyrian Empire. Her 6 eyes focused on Kethavar with cold intensity. Admiral, your report was unclear, she said. You claimed that 3 of our warships were destroyed by a single primitive vessel? Yes, Supreme General. The humans possess weapons far beyond what our intelligence suggested. Their ship is small but carries devastating firepower. Supreme General Vexthul's face showed no emotion. Admiral, you have served the Empire for 2 centuries. Are you telling me that a species that discovered faster than light travel only 50 years ago has somehow surpassed our technology? Kethavar straightened his shoulders. I am reporting exactly what I witnessed. Their weapons completely vaporized our ships in seconds. Impossible, another voice said. High Scientist Zixmore appeared in the hologram, his large brain visible through his transparent skull. Our records show that humans still use primitive chemical explosives for many purposes. They cannot possibly have developed energy weapons superior to ours. I have sensor recordings, Kethavar insisted. Sensor malfunctions, Zixmore dismissed. Or perhaps the humans discovered some ancient technology. But they could not have developed such weapons themselves. Meanwhile, in the engineering section of the USS Liberty, Ben Rodriguez was explaining their victory to a group of junior officers who had gathered to understand what had happened. The key is power output, he said, pointing to a diagram on his tablet. The aliens built their shields to stop the kind of weapons they're used to fighting. But we don't think like them. Lieutenant Paul Davis, a young engineer fresh from Earth, raised his hand. How are our weapons different? Every other species we've studied focuses on efficiency, Rodriguez explained. They want weapons that use as little energy as possible, while still being effective. It's elegant engineering, and we don't, asked Lieutenant Susan Clark. Rodriguez grinned. We humans have a different philosophy. If something is worth shooting, it's worth shooting with everything you've got. Our weapons don't just penetrate shields, they completely overwhelm them. He pulled up another diagram showing power consumption. A Zephyrian main gun uses about the same energy as a small city for 1 shot. Our main guns use the same energy as a large city for 3 shots fired at once. The junior officers looked impressed but confused. How do we generate that much power? Davis asked. We use fusion reactors that run much hotter than anything the aliens build, Rodriguez said. They think we're crazy because our reactors are more dangerous. But that danger gives us power they can't match. Dr. Karen Walsh entered the engineering section, carrying a tablet full of data. She was a thin woman with red hair, who had spent most of her career studying alien biology and technology. Now she was analyzing their first real alien encounter. Ben, I've been studying the sensor data from the Zephyrian ship, she said. I think I understand why they were so shocked. What did you find? Rodriguez asked. Their ship design is over 800 years old, Walsh explained. The basic structure, the weapons, the shields, all of it. They haven't made any major improvements in centuries. Lieutenant Clark frowned. Why not? Because they didn't need to, Walsh said. They've been conquering primitive civilizations for so long that they stopped innovating. When you win every fight easily, you don't improve your weapons. Rodriguez nodded slowly, like bringing a sword to fight people with sticks. You keep winning, so you never think about getting a gun. Exactly. But now they've met us and we brought guns to their sword fight. In another part of the ship, Captain Morrison was meeting with his senior officers in the conference room. The table was covered with star charts and intelligence reports about the Zephyrian Empire. How big are we talking about? Morrison asked. Lisa Carter pulled up a holographic map of local space. According to our long-range sensors, they control about 40 star systems in this sector alone. That's probably just a small part of their total territory. Amy Foster added information from the communication intercepts. Their empire has existed for over 1,000 years. They've conquered dozens of species. Population estimates? Morrison asked. Hard to say, Walsh replied, but probably trillions across all their worlds. Morrison leaned back in his chair. And we just declared war on all of them with one ship. Not declared war, Carter corrected. We defended ourselves. There's a difference. Not to them there isn't, Morrison said. They came here expecting easy conquest. Instead, they lost 3 ships and got humiliated. They'll have to respond. Dr. Walsh looked at the star charts. Captain, I think we have an advantage they don't expect. What's that? They think in terms of conquest and control. They build their military to intimidate and occupy. We built ours to destroy enemies completely. That's a pretty big difference, Morrison agreed. It's more than that, Walsh continued. Their whole society is based on being superior to everyone else. They've never faced an equal, let alone someone stronger. Psychologically, they're not prepared for this. Ben Rodriguez joined the meeting, wiping grease from his hands. Captain, I've been thinking about their retreat. What about it? They didn't try to fight back after we destroyed their escorts. A human ship would have either attacked immediately or tried to learn more about our weapons. They just ran. Morrison considered this. You think they were scared? I think they were confused, Rodriguez said. They couldn't understand what they were seeing, so they withdrew to figure it out. Lisa Carter pulled up tactical data. That gives us time to prepare. How much time? Morrison asked. Unknown, Carter admitted. But probably not long. An empire that big doesn't ignore threats. Dr. Walsh looked thoughtful. Actually, they might take longer than we expect to respond. Why? Because they'll have to convince their leadership that we're a real threat. Admiral Kethavar will report what happened, but his superiors won't believe it at first. They'll think it's impossible. Amy Foster nodded. I monitored some of their internal communications during the retreat. There was a lot of confusion and disbelief, so they'll investigate before they act, Morrison concluded. Most likely, Walsh agreed. They'll want to understand how we defeated them before they risk more ships. Captain Morrison stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there was an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years, and humanity had just announced its presence by destroying 3 of their warships. Ben, how long to upgrade our weapons? He asked. They're already at maximum power, Rodriguez replied, but I can improve our targeting systems and maybe increase our rate of fire. Do it. Lisa, I want you to analyze everything we learned about their ship design. Find weaknesses. Yes, sir. Amy, see if you can decode more of their communications. I want to know how their command structure works. Already working on it, Captain. Morrison turned back to his officers. People, we just kicked a sleeping giant. When it wakes up, it's going to be very angry. We need to be ready. Dr. Walsh looked at the star charts again. Captain, there's something else to consider. What? We're not the only species they've conquered. Some of those other civilizations might be willing to fight back if they see that the Empire can be beaten. Morrison smiled grimly. You're thinking of starting a rebellion. I'm thinking that empires fall when people stop being afraid of them. We just proved that the Zephyrian Empire can bleed. Then let's make sure the galaxy knows it, Morrison said. 3 weeks after the first encounter, the Zephyrian Empire's response arrived in human space. Supreme Admiral Vexthal commanded a fleet of 12 dreadnoughts and 40 support vessels from the bridge of her flagship, Galactic Supremacy. She had brought enough firepower to destroy a small star system. How can primitives threaten the Empire? She muttered, studying the tactical displays. Her 6 eyes focused on the 3 human ships detected by long-range sensors. The humans had reinforced their position. Captain Morrison's USS Liberty was now joined by the USS Defiance under Captain Ryan Thompson and the USS Vengeance under Captain Michelle Brooks. 3 ships against 52. On the Liberty's bridge, Morrison watched the massive alien fleet approach. That's a lot of ships. Our weapons are still superior, Lisa Carter reported from Tactical. But they have us outnumbered 17-1. Captain Ryan Thompson appeared on the communication screen. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm blue eyes who had spent 20 years fighting pirates in the outer colonies. Jake, my crew is ready. What's the plan? Captain Michelle Brooks joined the communication from her ship. She was younger than the other captains, with dark skin and fierce brown eyes that had earned respect in every battle she'd fought. We can't fight them the same way they expect. Agreed, Morrison replied. Ben, are the modifications ready? Rodriguez looked up from his engineering station with a satisfied smile. Better than ready. I've been working with the other ship's engineers. We've got some surprises for them. Dr. Walsh monitored the alien communications from her science station. Captain, they're splitting into 3 groups. Standard Empire formation. Overwhelming force from multiple directions. They're trying to surround us, Carter observed. Morrison studied the tactical display. Amy, can you jam their communications? Amy Foster's fingers flew across her panel. Working on it. Their encryption is complex but not impossible. The Zephyrian fleet began its attack approach. Supreme Admiral Vexthal was confident that sheer numbers would overcome whatever trick the humans had used before. Her plan was simple: destroy the human ships quickly and completely to restore the Empire's reputation. Begin the assault, she ordered. The alien dreadnoughts opened fire with their main weapons. Massive energy beams streaked through space toward the human ships, but the humans were no longer where the beams were aimed. Evasive pattern Alpha, Morrison commanded. The 3 human ships moved like dancers, sliding between the alien weapons fire with precise coordination. Their smaller size let them change direction faster than the massive alien vessels could track. Now, Morrison said. The Liberty fired first, its weapons targeting not the alien ships themselves but the space around them. Rodriguez had modified their weapons to create cascading energy fields that disrupted the aliens' shield systems. Captain Thompson's Defiance followed with concentrated fire on the lead dreadnought. The alien ship's shields flickered and died under the assault. Captain Brooks's Vengeance finished the job, putting 3 shots into the dreadnought's reactor core. The massive ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Impossible, Supreme Admiral Vexthal shouted. That ship had the strongest shields in the fleet. Her tactical officer's voice shook as he reported. Admiral, they're not just overpowering our shields. They're making them fail completely. On the Liberty, Ben Rodriguez explained to his engineering team how their new weapons worked. Instead of trying to punch through their shields, we're making the shields tear themselves apart. Lieutenant Davis monitored the weapon systems. How does that work? Shields are energy fields that deflect incoming attacks, Rodriguez said. But if you hit them with the right frequency, you can make them oscillate. Push hard enough and they vibrate themselves to pieces. Like breaking a wine glass with sound? Exactly. And once their shields are down, our regular weapons can destroy them easily. The battle continued with the human ships dancing through the alien formation. Their superior speed and maneuverability let them attack and retreat before the aliens could respond effectively. Captain Thompson targeted the alien command ships, disrupting their ability to coordinate the attack. His weapons officer, Lieutenant Frank Miller, had developed new targeting algorithms that could predict alien movement patterns. Their ships are too big to change direction quickly, Miller reported. Once they start moving, we know where they'll be. Captain Brooks focused on the alien support vessels, using hit-and-run tactics that eliminated their smaller ships one by one. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Carol White, had studied every piece of intelligence about alien ship design. "Captain, their escort ships have weak points near the engine sections," White reported. "Single shots can disable their main power. Target those points," Brooks ordered. The Zephyrian fleet began to break apart under the human assault. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds found themselves helpless against an enemy that refused to fight by the rules of civilized warfare. Supreme Admiral Vexthal watched in horror as her fleet was systematically destroyed. "They fight like savages!" "Admiral, request permission to withdraw," her second-in-command pleaded. "Never. The Empire does not retreat." But her fleet was already retreating whether she ordered it or not. Individual captains, seeing their shields fail and their weapons unable to hit the fast-moving human ships, began jumping to hyperspace without orders. On the Liberty, Dr. Walsh monitored the alien retreat. "Captain, I'm detecting massive confusion in their ranks. They're not retreating as a coordinated force. They're panicking," Morrison realized. They've never faced an enemy that could hurt them. Lisa Carter tracked the remaining alien ships. 12 dreadnoughts destroyed, 31 support vessels eliminated. "Only 9 ships left in their fleet. Should we pursue?" Captain Thompson asked over the communication link. Morrison considered the tactical situation. "No, let them run. We want survivors to report what happened here." Captain Brooks looked satisfied. 3 ships against 52, and we won." "We did more than win," Morrison said. "We showed the galaxy that the Empire can be beaten." Amy Foster intercepted an alien communication. "Captain, the surviving ships are broadcasting distress calls to their home territory." "Good. Let the Empire hear about this." Ben Rodriguez checked his weapon systems. All 3 human ships had suffered only minor damage despite the massive battle. "Captain, we're ready for round 3 whenever they want to try again." Dr. Walsh pulled up strategic analysis on her screen. "This changes everything. Word of this defeat will spread throughout the Empire. Other conquered species will hear about it." "Think they'll rebel?" Morrison asked. "Some will. For the first time in centuries, subject species will see that the Empire can be hurt." Supreme Admiral Vexithal's flagship limped away from the battle zone, heavily damaged and barely functional. Her crew worked frantically to repair critical systems while she tried to understand what had gone wrong. "How?" she demanded. "How did 3 primitive ships destroy our entire fleet?" Her science officer, trembling with fear, provided his analysis. "Admiral, they don't fight like any civilized species. They use their own weaknesses as weapons." "Explain." "Their ships are smaller, so they made them faster. Their weapons are less efficient, so they made them more powerful. They turned every disadvantage into an advantage." Vexthal stared at the tactical display showing the wreckage of her fleet. "What do we tell the High Command?" "The truth, Admiral. The humans are not primitives. They're something we've never faced before." Back in human space, the 3 ships regrouped to assess their victory. Morrison looked at the debris field where 52 alien warships had been destroyed or driven off. "This is just the beginning," he told his fellow captains. "They'll be back with everything they have." "How many ships can the Empire field?" Thompson asked. Dr. Walsh pulled up intelligence estimates. "Thousands, possibly tens of thousands. This was just one sector fleet." "Then we need to be ready for a real war," Brooks concluded. Morrison nodded. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them what happened here. We're going to need every ship humanity can build." "What about allies?" Thompson suggested. "Dr. Walsh is right about other species wanting to rebel. We'll reach out to them," Morrison agreed. "But first we need to prove that humanity can win a long war, not just a single battle." The 3 human ships turned toward home, carrying news that would change the galaxy forever. The Zephyrian Empire's reign of terror had faced its first real challenge, and humanity had won. News of the devastating defeat spread through the Zephyrian Empire like wildfire. On the capital world of Zephyros, Prime Emperor Zythkal received the reports in his crystal throne room with growing disbelief and rage. 52 ships, he repeated slowly, his voice echoing off the polished walls, destroyed or forced to retreat by 3 primitive vessels. High Scientist Zixmore stood before the Emperor, his transparent skull showing a brain that pulsed with nervous energy. "Your Majesty, we must consider that the humans have discovered some form of ancient technology." "Ancient technology?" Emperor Zythkal's 4 red eyes blazed with anger. "For 1,000 years, our archaeologists have searched every dead world in the galaxy. There is no lost technology more advanced than ours. Supreme General Vexthal, recently returned from the humiliating defeat, dared to speak. Your Majesty, with respect, the humans did not use ancient technology. Their weapons were clearly of their own design. The Emperor's massive form rose from the throne, at 12 feet tall with armored skin and razor-sharp claws. He was an imposing figure who had personally conquered 17 worlds in his youth. Are you telling me that a species that achieved spaceflight 50 years ago has surpassed an empire that has ruled the galaxy for a millennium? The evidence suggests exactly that, Your Majesty, Vexthal replied carefully. Meanwhile, across the Empire, subject species were hearing whispered reports of the human victory. On the mining world of Kragos, the enslaved Benthari workers paused in their labor to discuss the impossible news. 3 ships defeated 52, whispered Kenth, a Benthari elder whose blue skin was scarred from years of forced labor. If it is true, then the Empire can bleed. Careful, warned his friend Velm. The overseers have sensors everywhere. But the damage was already done. For the first time in generations, the conquered species were asking dangerous questions. If humans could defeat the Empire, what did that mean for everyone else? On the agricultural world of Tethys, the Aquarian farmers who had been enslaved for 3 centuries began to organize secret meetings. Their leader, a young female named Coral, had heard the reports through black market communications. The humans proved something important, she told her fellow rebels. The Empire is not invincible. Back on Earth, Captain Morrison stood in the war room of the Unified Defense Command, briefing Admiral Patricia Hayes and the top military leaders of humanity. They'll be back, Morrison said, pointing to the holographic display of local space. And next time, they'll bring everything they have. Admiral Hayes, a stern woman with silver hair and sharp eyes, studied the tactical data. How many ships can we expect? Dr. Walsh, who had been brought to Earth to brief the command staff, answered from her position at the analysis table. Conservative estimates suggest they could deploy 500 ships in this sector. Aggressive estimates go as high as 2,000. 2,000 ships against our entire fleet of 37 vessels, Admiral Hayes said grimly. Those are not good odds. Numbers aren't everything, Captain Morrison replied. We've proven that our technology is superior. But can we build ships fast enough? Admiral Hayes asked. General Robert Clark, head of military production, looked up from his tablet. We're converting every shipyard to military production. The mining colonies are working around the clock to provide materials, but it will take months to build a significant fleet. Dr. Walsh pulled up intelligence reports on her screen. We might not have months. My analysis of Empire communications suggests they're preparing for a massive retaliation. Admiral Hayes made a decision. Captain Morrison, take your task force back out there. We need to buy time for our shipbuilding program. What's the mission? Morrison asked. Hit-and-run attacks. Make them afraid to move freely in their own territory. Show the galaxy that humanity is not backing down. 2 weeks later, Morrison's expanded task force of 5 ships moved through Empire space like ghosts. The USS Liberty, USS Defiance, and USS Vengeance had been joined by the USS Intrepid under Captain Steve Martinez and the USS Relentless under Captain Nicole Adams. Captain Martinez was a quiet man with steady hands, who had spent years flying reconnaissance missions in dangerous territory. His ship specialized in stealth operations and intelligence gathering. Captain Adams was the youngest of the human commanders, but her aggressive tactics and fearless attitude had earned respect throughout the fleet. She had volunteered for the mission specifically to strike back at the Empire. Their first target was a supply convoy heading to an Empire military base. The convoy consisted of 20 cargo ships escorted by 6 warships. Remember, Morrison said over the communication link, hit fast and get out. We're not here to occupy territory. The human ship struck without warning, emerging from hyperspace in the middle of the convoy formation. Their weapons, now enhanced with the latest modifications from Ben Rodriguez and his team, tore through the escort ships in seconds. Captain Adams led the assault on the cargo vessels. These supplies were meant for their military bases. Now they're space debris. The attack was over in minutes. 20 cargo ships destroyed, 6 escorts eliminated, and 0 human casualties. The convoy's emergency beacon would bring Empire reinforcements, but the human ships were already gone. News of the attack reached Emperor Zithkal within hours. He stood in his private chambers, looking out at the capital city that had ruled the galaxy for centuries. They dare to attack our supply lines, he growled to his aide, a nervous Zephyrian noble named Clickstar. Your Majesty, the military requests permission to deploy the Imperial reserves, Clickstar said carefully. Denied. The reserves stay on Zephyros Prime. The Emperor turned from the window, his red eyes glowing with determination. I will handle this personally, Your Majesty. Prepare the Eternal Supremacy. I will command the final assault myself. The Eternal Supremacy was the Emperor's personal flagship, the largest and most powerful vessel in the Empire. Built over a century ago, it was more like a mobile fortress than a ship. Its weapons could destroy planets and its shields had never been penetrated. As news of the Emperor's personal involvement spread, the Empire's response began to take shape. Ships were recalled from patrol duties across dozens of sectors. The largest military formation in Empire history was assembling under the direct command of Emperor Zithkol himself. But the human attacks continued. Captain Thompson's Defiance struck a communications relay, cutting off Empire forces in an entire star system. Captain Brooks' Vengeance destroyed a research facility where scientists were trying to understand human technology. Each attack sent the same message. Humanity was not hiding. They were hunting. On the conquered world of Nexus 7, the crystalline beings who had been enslaved for 500 years began planning their own rebellion. Their leader, a being called Prism, had access to Empire communications through his work in the Planetary Command Center. The humans have attacked 17 Empire targets in the last month, Prism reported to his fellow rebels. Each attack was successful. No human ships have been destroyed. What does this mean for us? Asked another crystalline. It means the Empire is vulnerable. If we coordinate our rebellion with human attacks, we might succeed. Similar conversations were happening on dozens of worlds throughout the Empire. The subject species were no longer passive victims waiting for liberation. They were becoming active participants in their own freedom. Emperor Zithkol completed his preparations aboard the Eternal Supremacy. Around his flagship, the largest fleet in Empire, history had assembled over 800 ships representing the combined military might of 40 sectors. No, more defeats, he declared to his commanders. Through the ship's communication system, no more humiliation. We will find these humans and crush them completely. But even as the Emperor spoke, human ships were striking another convoy 3 sectors away. Morrison's task force had divided into smaller groups, making it impossible for the Empire to predict where they would attack next. They're everywhere and nowhere, complained Admiral Kethvar, who had been assigned to hunt the human ships. We respond to one attack and they hit us somewhere else. Dr. Walsh, monitoring Empire communications from the Liberty, smiled as she translated the alien messages. Captain, they're getting desperate. Listen to this transmission. She played an intercepted communication from an Empire patrol ship. The alien captain was requesting reinforcements to escort a single cargo vessel. They're afraid to move anything without heavy protection, Morrison observed. That's exactly what we wanted. Sir, Amy Foster reported from communications, I'm receiving coded transmissions from several subject worlds. They're asking for coordination with our attacks. Morrison looked at the star chart showing Empire territory. Red dots marked human attacks, but now blue dots were appearing. Worlds where rebellions were starting. The galaxy is waking up, he said quietly. Captain Adams joined the communication from her ship. Jake, we've got an opportunity. Intelligence suggests the Emperor himself is coming to fight us. How many ships? Morrison asked. Over 800 according to our sources. The bridge fell silent. 800 ships against 5 was impossible odds, even for humans. Captain, Dr. Walsh said thoughtfully, maybe that's exactly what we need. Explain. The final battle took place in the Nexus system, a strategic location that controlled hyperspace routes to 7 sectors of the Empire. Emperor Zithkol had chosen this battlefield carefully. Any human ships that tried to escape would be trapped by the system's unique gravitational fields. The Eternal Supremacy emerged from hyperspace at the center of the largest military formation the galaxy had ever seen. 812 ships spread across space like a metal constellation, their weapons trained on the 5 human vessels waiting near the system's largest planet. Emperor Zithkol stood on the bridge of his flagship, his massive form casting shadows across the command stations. The Eternal Supremacy stretched for over 5 miles, its hull bristling with enough weapons to devastate entire star systems. At last, he rumbled, his 4 red eyes focused on the tactical display. These insects will learn the price of defying the Empire. Captain Morrison watched the Empire fleet take position from the bridge of the Liberty. The sight was overwhelming. Hundreds of massive warships arranged in perfect formation, their combined firepower capable of destroying planets. Well, he said calmly, they certainly brought everything they had. Lisa Carter ran final checks on the weapons systems. Captain, our ships are ready. But against those numbers don't win battles, Morrison replied. Tactics do. Ben, are your modifications online? Rodriguez looked up from his engineering station with a confident smile. All systems are go, Captain. The other ships report ready as well. Dr. Walsh monitored the alien communications. Captain, the Emperor is broadcasting on all frequencies. He wants to speak with you personally. Put him on screen. Emperor Zythkol's enormous face appeared on the main viewer. His armored skin gleamed under the bridge lights and his razor-sharp teeth showed as he spoke. I am Emperor Zythkol, ruler of the galaxy and master of 1,000 worlds. You insects have caused enough trouble. Surrender now, and I will grant you quick deaths. Morrison stood up, meeting the Emperor's gaze steadily. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Defense Force. Your empire ends today. The Emperor's eyes blazed with fury. You dare threaten me? I have ruled for 3 centuries. My fleet could destroy your entire world. Your fleet is about to be scrap metal, Morrison replied. Just like all the others. Impossible. I command 800 ships.
You have 5.
Morrison smiled grimly. Emperor, let me teach you something about humans. We don't fight fair. We fight to win. The communication ended. Emperor Zythkol turned to his tactical commander. Destroy them. All ships, maximum firepower. The Empire fleet opened fire with a barrage that lit up space like a new star being born. Thousands of energy beams converged on the position where the human ships had been floating, but the humans were no longer there. Scatter pattern 7, Morrison commanded. The 5 human ships split apart like an explosion, moving in different directions at maximum speed. Their smaller size and superior engines let them accelerate faster than the massive alien vessels could track. Captain Thompson's Defiance dove toward the system's star, using its gravity to increase speed even further. Captain Brooks' Vengeance headed for the asteroid belt, where large rocks would provide cover. Captain Martinez's Intrepid used its stealth systems to vanish from alien sensors. Captain Adams' Relentless charged directly at the enemy formation, weapons blazing. They're using chaos as a weapon, observed the Emperor's tactical officer. Meaningless, Zythkol snarled. We outnumber them massively. Surround them and destroy them one by one. But the Empire fleet was too large for its own good. When they tried to surround the fast-moving human ships, they got in each other's way. Ships designed to fight in formation couldn't adapt to the 3-dimensional battlefield the humans had created. Ben Rodriguez activated the secret weapon he had been preparing for weeks. Instead of targeting alien ships directly, the human weapons began targeting the space around them, creating cascading energy fields that interfered with alien technology. Their shields are failing across multiple ships, Lisa Carter reported. The cascade effect is spreading through their formation. Captain Adams struck first, her Relentless emerging from behind an asteroid to destroy 3 alien dreadnoughts in rapid succession. Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Tom Wilson, had perfected a technique for overloading alien power systems. Target their reactor cores, Adams ordered. 1 shot, 1 kill. Captain Thompson used the star's gravity well to accelerate his ship to incredible speeds, streaking through the alien formation like a comet. His weapons destroyed everything in his path before the aliens could react. Captain Brooks coordinated attacks from the asteroid belt, using the rocks as cover while picking off alien ships one by one. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Sarah Davis, had identified weak points in every type of alien vessel. Captain Martinez's Intrepid struck from stealth, appearing long enough to destroy key command ships before vanishing again. His attacks disrupted alien communications and coordination. Morrison's Liberty targeted the Eternal Supremacy itself, testing its legendary defenses. The Emperor's flagship was indeed powerful, but it was also old. Its technology hadn't been updated in over a century. Their shields are strong but rigid, Dr. Walsh observed. They can't adapt to new types of attacks. Then let's show them something new. Morrison said. The 5 human ships began working together in a coordinated pattern that no alien species had ever developed. They moved like a pack of wolves, supporting each other while attacking from multiple directions simultaneously. The Empire fleet, despite its overwhelming numbers, began to break apart under the assault. Ships that had conquered hundreds of worlds found themselves helpless against an enemy that refused to fight by the rules of civilized warfare. "This is impossible," Emperor Zithikol roared as he watched his ships being destroyed. "How can 5 ships defeat 800? His science officer, trembling with fear, provided an analysis. "Your Majesty, they fight as a single organism. Each ship supports the others. We fight as individuals competing for glory. Change tactics," the Emperor commanded. "Coordinate our attacks." But it was too late. The Empire had spent centuries conquering weak enemies who surrendered at the first show of force. They had never learned to fight a real war against an equal opponent. The human ships continued their deadly dance through the alien formation. Their weapons, designed for maximum destruction rather than elegant efficiency, tore through alien defenses like paper. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Captain Adams led a direct assault on the Emperor's flagship. "All ships concentrate fire on the eternal supremacy. It's time to end this." The 5 human ships converged on the massive alien vessel, their weapons focused on a single target. The Emperor's shields began to fail under the concentrated assault. Emperor Zithikol felt his ship shudder under the attack. "Impossible," he whispered. "The eternal supremacy has never been damaged in battle. Your Majesty," his tactical officer reported, "main shields are down to 30%. Hull breaches on decks 40 through 60. The Emperor looked around his bridge at officers who were staring at their instruments in disbelief. For the first time in his 3-century reign, Emperor Zithikol felt fear. "All remaining ships," he commanded. "Protect the flagship." But there were no remaining ships. In the space of 2 hours, the human task force had destroyed or disabled every vessel in the Empire fleet except the Eternal Supremacy. 800 ships reduced to floating debris. Morrison opened a communication channel to the Emperor's ship. "Your Majesty, your fleet is gone. Your empire is finished. Surrender and we'll let you live." Emperor Zithikol's face appeared on the screen, his red eyes blazing with fury and desperation. "Never. The Empire will never surrender to primitives." "Then you'll die with it," Morrison replied. The 5 human ships fired simultaneously. Their combined weapons overwhelmed the Eternal Supremacy's remaining shields and tore into its hull. The massive ship, symbol of Empire power for over a century, began to break apart. Emperor Zithikol watched his bridge collapse around him as explosions ripped through his flagship. "How?" he gasped with his dying breath. "How did they win?" The Eternal Supremacy exploded in a cascade of light that could be seen from planets throughout the system. With its destruction, the Zephyrian Empire's reign over the galaxy came to an end. News of the impossible victory spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On every world where species had been enslaved by the Empire, rebellions erupted as subject races threw off their chains. Dr. Walsh monitored the communications flooding in from across the galaxy. "Captain, we're receiving messages from dozens of species. They're declaring independence from the Empire." Morrison looked at the debris field where the largest fleet in galactic history had been destroyed by 5 human ships. "The Age of Empires is over." Amy Foster received a transmission from Earth. "Captain, message from Admiral Hayes. She's promoting you to Fleet Admiral and ordering you to begin accepting surrenders from former Empire territories." "Surrenders?" "Sir, the Empire is collapsing everywhere. Without their fleet and their Emperor, the remaining governors are abandoning their posts. Local species are taking control of their own worlds." Lisa Carter pulled up a strategic display of local space. "Captain, we've